August 18th, 1996. Kevin Costner birdied at the box office playing an aging golf pro in Tin Cup. It was his most realistic role since portraying an aging minor league ball player in Bull Durham. On the eve of his 50th birthday, Bill Clinton wondered if he'd still be considered fuckable, before remembering it never mattered what women wanted in the past. It was war on the airwaves as Los Del Rio and the Bayside Boys successfully infiltrated every wedding, ballpark, and middle school dance. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, Ohio, Shawn Michaels battled the man they call Vader for the WWF Championship at SummerSlam. Hey, Macarena! This is Hell in a Cell Phone.
Hey, Macarena!
Welcome to another episode of Hell in a Cell Phone, the podcast where we attempt to make sense of the Attitude Era of WWE 20 years later. I'm your host, Aaron Benoit. With me again is our noob, Eric Silver.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great, Eric. How's the past 22 years treated you?
I've been doing okay. I'm alive, which is better than I think a lot of the guys who are wrestling in this SummerSlam.
A little too true. And helping us through all of the deaths and lives of all these wrestlers, we've got our historian, Bobby Hankinson. How you doing, Bobby?
Thank you. I'm also the WWF Angel of Death, apparently. But I'll take it.
Now, why would you consider yourself the Angel of Death?
Well, I'm just guiding you through all of all of the deaths, all of what wrestlers are still with us.
Mm-hmm. So you're not taking people, because if we're sitting across from you, it's a different type of podcast.
Look, I'm owning the history books, and so I will erase anyone that I see fit to be erased.
So tonight we're dealing with the 1996 edition of SummerSlam. Just recently we had the 2018 SummerSlam. I gotta say, after the last show, I was very nervous, especially when I saw the 3-hour runtime of this show. But I was pretty pleasantly surprised with a pretty fun show that we got into this one.
I feel like I only started nodding off in the later portions,
which is when it got better, I think.
I know. It's true. It's just because.
Also, I think we need to point out that Eric, you are an old.
Yes,
I am a super old, and also as much as I can appreciate wrestling, it's a little bit like driving for me, where at a certain point I start getting mesmerized by all the movement, and my eyes just start closing. Don't take road trips with me. Yes.
Like all of a sudden there's a 3 count and you're in your driveway.
Yes, I hit a rumble strip and then.
Well, I'm just happy that we're emanating from beautiful, historic Cleveland, Ohio, as we're told over and over again.
Well, when I think summer in Cleveland.
Yeah.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Uh-huh.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, what about Art Modell? That's another one they hit. I love the B-roll, by the way.
There's so much to get
we
into.
could call this B-roll in the style of drunk cameraman or dad trying to figure out the controls on the camera, because they did a lot of 35-degree angles of shots, and then it would kind of move from side to side as they're trying to take a steady shot.
And that was one of the things that WWE, or WWF, later WWE, was known for, was how dynamic their camera work was during the matches. And so I think they tried to apply that to just kind of everything they did, and it does not work.
It was super dynamic. I felt like I was on a pigeon.
I just can't imagine at this point one of the big 4 pay-per-views taking place in Cleveland, of all cities.
It's sort of like when you find out about previous Olympics and you're like, I don't know how they won the bid. I don't why did we go to Salt Lake City? I'm not positive.
I mean, also you got to remember this time as the historian. Put my historian hat on for a minute.
Oh, the Angel of Death hat.
WWE is so much smaller at this point, honestly. And this is a very low pay-per-view buy rate. In general for the WWFE at this point, in terms of what they were selling for this, the competition WCW is really high. They're not selling tons of live tickets. This is not, so they're operating at a very different scale than we're used to seeing them operate at. So at this point, Cleveland felt huge. I mean, they were in Canada for the first time emanating a televised event last month. So
they were a little bit on the ropes at this point.
Not necessarily on the ropes, but the empire's being built.
Okay.
So if you think about even at this point, the syndicated television shows they have, I mean, they're paying local syndicates for Saturday morning wrestling shows and stuff like that. So it's they're just figuring out the TV game really still.
I mean, they've got that hotline.
Yeah, it's true. The 900 numbers, that truly was a big part of it. Merchandise is a big part of it. So
and starting to get smoked in the TV ratings. Correct?
absolutely, yeah. While this is happening, I mean, like NWO is happening over right now, like concurrently with this in WCW. So that's like huge. All their biggest stars are going. Diesel, Razor Ramon have left. So this is kind of like a big scary time for them.
So I think On the Ropes is actually accurate.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like on the ropes, but like it's there's definitely pressure.
And the fans know it because I saw Bischoff Sucks T-shirt in the ring. I saw like just
Right.
some
Is
other
he
signs.
he's the president of
Eric Bischoff was the head
WCW?
of.
Like kind of like the head of creative, more or
Yeah,
less. Like he was the brains behind what was happening at WCW.
Ted Turner basically kind of gave him free reign to and like a blank check to do whatever he had to do to beat WWF.
It's weird that Ted Turner had a wrestling foundation, like a federation. It's super weird because like you think of him, I don't know. He also has classic movies. Like he went in a very different direction. Like Vince McMahon took wrestling and cast everything in the lens of wrestling, whereas Ted Turner had like a wider lens, and he was just like, oh yeah, wrestling is just a part of everything else I do. Like looking at the way they both viewed things, like I mean, if Vince McMahon had a classic channel, like a classic movies channel, it would only be classic movies with wrestlers or about wrestling.
Well,
No, also like very, very misogynist things.
Yeah, right. Also
super misogynist things.
I feel like it's a super Georgia thing to have like a classic movie channel that you could show a colorized version of Gone with the Wind and then follow it up with some wrestling afterwards. Did we want to talk about the monsters and their masks intro to this?
I mean, I definitely do. I kind of liked it. I was into it. I was like, oh, I was sucked into the narrative at that point.
This promo really did a lot of framing work, right? So like I didn't realize that Vader and Mankind were on the same spectrum, or that they were the monster end, and that first of all, the way they frame Undertaker, because I remember and like what I've seen so far hasn't shown me otherwise until now. I remember Undertaker being, I don't know if he was a heel, but he was just like a force. I never thought of him as like the good guy. And now they're like, oh, he is the arbiter of the light, you know, and between the light and the darkness. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, they're really doing a lot to build mythology here. The one thing I didn't like about this is, come on, guys, rule of threes. You need a third monster in a mask.
This is true. I would have appreciated a third monster mask. This is before. We'll get some more monsters coming. But this, I was really happy they started doing this. I feel like the last couple pay-per-views we watched were sort of boring story-wise.
Yeah,
it was very like, this guy disrespected me, or I want to beat him in the ring. And it was like literally was like bare minimum of a story.
The intros are very worldwide sports, like coming to you live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We've got this going on next, followed up by these two guys getting into the ring because they're fighting.
Totally. And I feel like what they did with the monsters.
Is that Cassell?
But I feel like both with Vader and Mankind, I feel like, and I think I've said this before, I think like Mankind and Undertaker are two of the best characters WWE, WWF has ever created. I think they were just like, they're singular and they're so interesting and they were so well thought out and fully embodied. Vader less so, but still the idea of like building up the mythology and the mythos around it, I thought was, I was hooked instantly. I was like, oh, I'm like very into this. On a card where I feel like a lot of the other matches had honestly no build or very little build up to them.
They also used it to really like put over Shawn Michaels in the sense of like they were like, Shawn Michaels, he gives up a lot of weight to Vader, but he's very daring. He's super brave.
Yeah, they pitched him as he's really like a conquering underdog hero here, which is
Despite the fact that he's got the championship around his
and
neck.
also that he's running this entire company behind the scenes.
And he's the horse break kid. He is a dressage horse who comes out. I mean, how can that be an under pony?
All right, but we'll get there. Starting off, we had Savio Vega versus Owen Hart. And before we even get to that, though, I got to say, the ring apron looked like it was painted by the local middle school. Like they
It
had
might
a
have
contest.
been.
Yeah.
I think they showed a clip of that. Them in Cleveland is painting aprons. We'll go more into it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a community project. I also do want to talk about. I remember when I was watching this live as it was happening, really being into Savio Vega, like really like thinking he was so cool. And I was watching this and I was like, what is that guy wearing? What is happening? He looked like he stepped out of an In Living Color Fly Girls like wardrobe rack. Like he fell into it in a cartoon and came out in some sort of like shredded, striped, sleeveless, insane thing.
I was going to say he's dressed the way that people think that Sinbad was dressed when he was in Shazam, a movie that doesn't exist.
Yes, absolutely. Or also like an outfit that someone would only ever wear at the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, it was so much. Here's patchwork.
Here's the weird thing, though. When I saw him, and I hadn't seen Savio Vega, I'd only heard the name from the Caribbean Strap match, which is a real thing.
Yep. Very familiar.
And
We're gonna get like 14 more of those in the next few
oh,
days.
thank God. I'm sorry I missed the first, or not the first, maybe the last in the sequence. But I when I saw him and when he was coming out, I actually thought to myself, I was like, you know what? This feels more contemporary than the other things that I've seen on this. Like, Mankind obviously is super defining. Undertaker I know because I've been watching wrestling. But a lot of the other guys, it's all like, hokey shit. Savio Vega is kind of, to me, seemed like a more modern take on like, what you see now, which is some fucking music plays, a guy comes out and he's like super like psyched to be there, and he just like slaps some fans, and that's about it.
Well, I mean, like this conversation. I'm going to tread very carefully because I feel like I can wade into problematic waters very easily. But I do agree with what you're saying, and I do think Savio Vega was an example of the WWF trying to like broaden their offerings the same way I think we see contemporary today with teams like the New Day and the Usos doing rap battles and stuff like that actually is kind of cool and using the vernacular and like tapping into like the zeitgeist in a bigger way. So like I do agree and see what you're saying with Savio Vega as sort of like a chance to broaden sort of the storytelling and character.
And I mean,
it's so nice to feel vindicated
Seen?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I feel like I have the right take.
and it's not like they've come that far. I mean, because you remember the Cologne's whole shtick was, come to Puerto Rico. We're Puerto Rico.
Oh, God. Let's not talk about the Colognes, please.
We've
We've got years to catch up to that.
Let's talk about Owen Hart, because I love Owen Hart.
You should.
I fucking love him. His music is so good. That 80s riff.
I feel like, and some of Owen Hart predates my like obsession and like fully watching every week to week, but from what I even understand, again historically, Owen Hart was always over, and they made him do some ridiculous shit, and even still always over because he's great in the ring. He's a great heel. You want to boo him. Like he's great.
I love.
He's like
that,
the Miz. He's like
Yes.
he's like an early Miz.
Yeah.
I love that he carries his Slammy Award around with him everywhere.
For so long he did that too.
It reminds me, when I was a kid, my dad's company picnic, there was a pie eating contest.
Oh boy!
And I won it.
Oh
and I got a medal, and it was around my neck the entire day, including down by the pool, where somebody's like, "Hey, what'd you win that medal for?" It was like pie eating contest. It's like, yeah, I guess so. I was like, oh.
Aaron, the things I learn about you on podcasts.
This might be around the same time that you had to go see Independence Day with your mom.
This was a month. That was last month. Okay. This right now, I'm just hanging out in Crofton, Maryland, no friends, just like counting down the days till school starts. Like maybe I'll meet somebody there.
Well, you have the medal. If you can't meet somebody with that medal, I don't know who can.
The medal predated this.
You're like Mark Henry, but you didn't get your medal and you didn't bronze it.
Without dressing like you're like a lost member, like you ate all of Boyz II Men.
Oh my God, we will talk.
Yeah.
We will talk about this. I also just to inject, my Cassandra vision or whatever. When I watch Owen Hart, Cassandra, right? She saw the future.
I have no idea what that
The
reference
Greek
is.
mythology of Cassandra. God, you fucking. So
Sorry, is that a wrestler?
I've taught Greek mythology in high school classes.
Who is the woman who could see the future but could do nothing about it?
I don't know this myth.
It's Cassandra.
Okay.
Anyway,
Go ahead, Cassandra.
look it up. So anyway,
Cassandra explains it all.
so whenever I see, I'm like, is this when he dies? Is this when Owen dies?
Oh no, you have a while.
Okay, well don't tell me because I want to be surprised by it.
Also,
It's
I mean,
weird.
to be clear, something we'll have to deal with it. We don't have to keep this in this episode, but we will never see that because that doesn't. It doesn't.
Was it
exist.
a house show?
No, it was a pay-per-view.
No, it was
but
a pay-per-view.
It's been removed. Like there's literally a tape that is marked. It exists, and it's marked "Do not ever show," and it will not. So it exists in a vault
Nor
somewhere.
should it.
No,
Like,
nor should it.
No, it's This
Nor should it.
this isn't Faces of Death.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's on YouTube. I will not look. I don't care. It creeps me out. But we will not be able. We will not see it. I don't even know. I think the rest of the pay-per-view might be on with that edited out, but there may be a chance that whole pay-per-view is not on the network.
Oh, they won't show the whole pay-per-view? Are we going to skip a pay-per-view?
I don't know.
We're gonna
Don't
have
hold
to
me to
see.
this. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm already thinking about the tribute
It's a while.
episode. We're
Yeah.
going to have to play Crossroads. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But that's what I think. Every time I see him, I'm like, you perfect angel.
Well, not perfect. He's got that cast on his arm.
got that
Which,
cast.
is there anybody in the entire ring when they saw that cast that wasn't like, he's gonna hit him with that cast?
Yeah, I mean, that was his whole shtick at this point. It's like so, but like the thing is, I wish the ref was positioned better when he hit him with the cast. 'Cause it's like you're looking
clearly see
right at him.
He literally had to take 5 steps back and be like, so he didn't see it. What do you think when Owen Hart gets a cast at the doctor? Like, do you think doctors are like, you can't shower with this, you can't you're gonna have to use a scratcher to get inside. Like,
Well, can I hit my opponents in the head with it? You're gonna have to wrap it in a garbage bag first.
Yeah, I also want him to be like, could you do like a little loose? I want it like a boot cut cast. Like I want it like a wide.
Slide.
Yeah, I need it to come easily.
what's a
in and
soft
out.
cast like?
Yeah.
But I mean, hard on the outside, but soft on the inside for me.
Just like Owen.
Aw, it was the 90s. Everything was baggier. I feel like he was
Right.
like-
It was actually a cargo cast.
I love during this match the shot. They kept playing up how Jim Cornette is not supporting his other Camp Cornette cohorts. He's like so focused on Vader.
Yeah.
And he's in the back, and Vader is working out, and Jim Cornette's just screaming in his face.
That's how I work out.
What is he telling him?
That's
what
what I
is
mean.
like Jim Cornette? Like he is not like Billy Blanks. He's not like some guy. He's not like Bob from The Biggest Loser. What is he telling Vader about how to condition right now?
And he's doing the same motion, so he's like, curl, do it, curl.
Just screaming.
But thank God he was back there because then we're treated to Clarence Mason,
Oh,
who I'm guessing is supposed to be Clarence Thomas and Perry Mason.
wait, is he actually supposed to be like Clarence Thomas, or is he supposed to be more like what's his face from the OJ trial?
Well, it's just the name. I think he's probably a Johnny Cochran, but
Johnny Cochran.
I'm just picturing him putting his pubes on Sonny's
Oh,
Pepsi at some
jeez.
point.
Definitely in the slot bucket.
And she doesn't count him. She doesn't like chocolate. She also says that on the interview.
No.
She says it. They were like
Also-
asking about black people. She's like, I don't like chocolate. I'm like,
Oh no, boo.
yeah, that's
Oh.
like older Sonny. She should know better. Oh, so one thing I wanted to mention is that I really thought the ref had a lot of control over this match in the beginning. There was a lot of time negotiating how this cast was going to be involved. Like, Savio Vega wanted to make sure everything was covered. And it took a long time. And then immediately I was like, I take it back because the ref, it seemed like every time the ref had to do a count for a pin, he would start by hitting the mat and then he'd count to 3. But like when he was about to do his 3 count, I was like, it's been 3 counts. Like it seemed like
That happens a lot, I feel like.
There were 2 times early on where I was like, that felt like 3 counts already. And then they were like, oh, he got a shoulder up. And it felt like not a very good way to call it.
Yeah, it's almost as if the fix is in
Oh.
on some of these matches.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Owen sells so well.
He's
Yeah.
so good.
And Savio Vega he's pretty good.
He's
too.
great in the ring.
We flipped Owen over like a foot flipping. I don't know the
Flippy
moves as
flip.
good as
He
you.
did a flippy
He's
flip.
good. I feel like Savio Vega's finishing move was a spinning heel kick, which is like so insane to be a finishing move. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we are in the age of the Superman punch, so I guess I can't really judge too much. But I will say one of my favorite things about Savio Vega today is I love reading oral histories of literally anything. I read the oral history of Four Loko recently. Like I read the oral history of the Street Fighter movie. I just like love reading oral histories. And there's so many wrestling ones with Savio Vega, and they're written and they transcribe him verbatim, and his accent is so heavy, and all these people, and it's kind of hilarious to read them because they're like written in text as Savio Vega would say them, talking about what a piece of shit Shawn Michaels was.
Oh man,
Yeah.
did everybody hate Shawn Michaels?
Oh, we're gonna get it. There's
okay.
a lot to talk about in that.
right.
There were a
with
lot
that.
of people who loved him. Pretty much everyone else hated him.
Everyone, I feel like
Well, I guess
a
that's
lot of
you,
people
you hate him or you
backstage.
love him. By the way, talking about Owen Hart and how he sells, I loved when Savio Vega had his arm and he was going, "Ow, my arm!" And he's pointing at his arm. He's just going, "Ow, this is the arm that he's hurting." What a way to sell. What a method.
Yeah, but overall, I thought the match was I've kind of slow paced. I wasn't there wasn't a lot of story built into it. I believe also it was supposed to be a different match that was rebooked.
That's what I was wondering, actually. 'Cause I was like,
definitely-
what are the stakes?
The Bulldog Psycho Sid match was supposed to be something else. It was a last minute replacement. But I feel like this one was also a last minute replacement of sorts. Because between Ahmed Johnson being injured, which we'll also go into in a bit, between Ultimate Warrior walking out basically, there was like a lot of shuffling around. But there was no stakes. There wasn't really a lead up to this. And then we see Justin the Hawk Bradshaw.
Did you recognize him?
They said Bradshaw, and I was like, is that JB? First of all,
It is.
he cut an unmiked promo at the table, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm just hearing him yell things. And then I kind of got a little bit of the gist when he attacked Savio Vega, because I guess Savio Vega upset his chances at tag team belt.
Bobby, what would you say that Justin Hawk Bradshaw's like brand is?
Oh, he was a mean cowboy. He literally would, speaking of brand, he would brand people. Like that was his whole thing.
What?
But it was a brand with like ink on it. It was clearly not
It was a
hot at
stamp.
all. Yeah, it was a stamp.
He was a notary. He was a notary public.
But did
If
you
he's
recognize
feeling especially sassy, he would emboss it.
that was Zeb
Zeb
Coulter,
Coulter,
who
yeah.
was with him, who would come back, who we'd see years later with Zach.
Do you remember seeing
Jack
him?
Swagger.
He did the
Real
horrible
Americans.
Mex-American
The Mex-Americans
thing
with
with
Alberto Rio.
Alberto Del Rio.
Oh, yeah. He was the manager.
Yeah.
The
Justin
guy
Hawk
with the cowboy hat.
Yep,
Yeah.
and all the facial hair.
But is Zeb Holder? Is that his? What's his real name?
I don't know.
Okay,
Sorry.
but he's been with
He's
within
been in
the
and out
company for a
while.
long time.
Yeah.
So why were they mentioning Bret Hart a lot? I mean, obviously Owen Hart is his brother, but
Yeah.
why were they mentioning Bret Hart so much? And especially, where was Bret Hart? Is he injured at this point?
So Bret Hart at this point, he lost his title to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, which was the most recent WrestleMania before we're watching now.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, he did a European tour, and then he took a hiatus from television. He was like kind of figuring what he wants to do. He had competing offers from WCW, WWF. WWF actually offered him a 20-year contract at that point because they're so desperate to like lock down people so they don't keep jumping ship. So he's like figuring out what's happening, but he's on hiatus from television, so he's not on TV right now.
I can't even imagine how things would be different if he took a 20-year contract.
They would be very different. But he is not there right now. So he's kind of like a non-factor in everything that's happening now.
Okay, so now getting back to, what was his name? The Johnny Cochran type guy?
Clarence Mason.
Clarence Mason. Did you notice he came out with an empty binder?
It was actually a binder full of women.
Yeah, it was literally that's how many female prospects he had, was 0. I don't know if that's what he thinks it takes to be a manager, but clearly you need at least one paper. One piece. The binder needs to hold something, is what I'm saying.
Is this? I don't remember the storyline. Is this going somewhere, Bobby?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. Well, Clarence Mason becomes a pretty important character when we're going to be moving some things. I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
But there's a lot important character things that come up, and Clarence Mason plays a big role.
Did you notice, by the way, that so I really liked at, I don't know, about 16 minutes in, Savio pins Owen Hart, and he just literally lays on him like the way that, friends might, or like a kitten. And Jim Ross goes, "Not a good cover by Savio." Like, yes, we all can see that. He's not trying very hard.
He just fell asleep in a sunbeam.
By the way, Jim Ross looked fantastic in this one.
I think it's so
I
weird to
saw-
see him without a cowboy hat.
Jim Ross?
Yeah. I feel like Jim Ross without a cowboy hat is like seeing, like, I don't know.
I'm neutral on this.
It's just, I need it. He needs the cowboy hat. That's his whole thing. That's like seeing, I don't know. God, I need a better
cowboy
reference
without
here.
a cowboy hat?
I need a better reference here.
He's like a notary
It's like,
without his brand.
Superman without a cape. It's very weird. I guess he's Clark Kent all the time. So
Well, I don't know.
that's
This is around when DC turned Superman into like the electric Superman.
Yeah, they did have a
for
Superman
while.
without a cape.
all right. Okay, that's not the best example. Okay,
It's like
so let's
Steel.
figure it out.
All right, moving on.
So it's
So
like
then we go from
It's like
there.
Batman when he murders. When he uses guns.
I want someone with like a trademark thing. What would it? What am I thinking of?
Indiana Jones if he lost his hat on the other side of the wall.
That's a bad one.
That's a bad
Well,
one.
it's another hat one, I know.
Who else does it? Who else?
It's
the
like
whole thing is wearing
it's
a hat.
like Charlie Chaplin without his mustache.
Or Hitler without his mustache.
That's right. It's like seeing Hitler without his mustache.
Yeah, turns out he's actually a good-looking guy.
That would be the weirdest thing.
Speaking of weird things, so then from there we go to a remote from Todd. What was it?
Todd Pettengill.
Todd Pettengill, where he goes to a boiler room.
Amazing.
This is freaky.
It's
guys.
the boiler room.
The boiler room.
There are pipes.
Yo,
There are pipes.
Mick licks a pipe. Why would you do that? It's terrible. Like, Mick, the person, don't lick a pipe. That shit is nasty.
But also, I feel like this is one of the first times watching that we had Mankind speak full sentences,
Yes.
and it's terrifying.
Oh, there's no place like home.
Yeah.
He's just, like, man, I think I would love movie night with Mick Foley because that dude, he's so inspired. You can tell he just goes through the old classics. It's great.
Yeah, he gives all of this character, and it is legit. I remember, I guess when this was happening, I was 11. I remember being sincerely frightened of Mankind, and I do know that that's a low bar. That I sometimes read Wikipedia summaries of horror films and can't sleep, and so I'm not the best barometer of what's actually scary. But I do remember being an 11-year-old, and I did watch. And we'll talk more about it, but.
Aren't you afraid of just the idea of the Slender Man?
Yes. Oh my God. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know what it is or how it works, but I'm so afraid.
He's off carbs. You might be interested in it.
It's true. But what's his secret? He looks great.
Yeah. That guy, he is so tall. He is
First of
so
all,
slender.
I wish my brand was Slender Man. That's what I wish my brand was. But I remember watching the Boiler Room Brawl via scrambled pay-per-view and still being sincerely frightened.
Well, I think the scrambling makes it worse.
Yeah,
I think it does make it scarier. In fact,
true.
they use that technique. We'll get into that later, but I feel like
First, we got the 4-way tag, though.
Ugh. I know it's hard to get through this because this match was so shitty.
Well, I hate always the matches where it's a multiple tag teams involved in it, and there are only 2 that are allowed to be involved at any time, and then the other teams have to grab them as they're in their corner to tag in and stuff like
it's
that.
so gimmicky. It was so gimmicky.
Also, this is like gimmick on gimmick on gimmick because
Yes.
these are 4 teams that are truly so old school.
the New Rockers.
The New Rockers, so Marty Jannetty
I
and Shawn
know.
Michaels were the Rockers. So now we have Leif Cassidy, a combination of Leif Garrett and David Cassidy. The whole thing is they're 70s. They're supposed to be the Monkees. So they're a more of a
That's
comedy
what their
routine.
theme is. Okay,
yeah,
I didn't
so they're
know
a 70s sort of kitschy thing. Whose idea was that? Shawn Michaels, was to make him a goof act because it was used to be Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty were the Rockers, and they were kind of cool and good.
And that's the thing. So when I used to hear, now I think I've watched 5 or 6 hours of wrestling from those days. So now I'm like, oh, Shawn Michaels, Heartbreak Kid. But back in the day when I used to watch, it was Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, and I was like, oh yeah, the Rockers. And I was like, well, if Shawn Michaels made it, Marty Jannetty must be doing great also. No, he just forms it's like New Coke.
Yeah.
And as successful, it was bad.
Truly, it's bad. And Leif Cassidy goes on to become Al Snow.
Oh,
If
fuck
no one
is Al
realized.
Snow?
You will get to Al Snow, but
I
Al
can't
Snow was
wait
great.
until we get to Al
But
Snow.
he becomes he does some time in ECW and comes back as Al Snow, which is a very interesting character and has a very interesting career path. But right now he's Leif Cassidy.
There's
which is
so
a
much
terrible
less to
name.
talk about Leif Cassidy.
Did Marty Jannetty have the same haircut for 10 years? Because
I think he still has the haircut.
Yeah, right. He
I mean,
died.
something-
He died with that mullet.
Up until very recently, Shawn Michaels had the same haircut. Well, I mean, like not as successfully and thinner and
Well,
thinner.
Marty
and thinner.
Jannetty without that hair is kind of like
JR without a cowboy hat.
Like Hitler with a handlebar mustache. Kind of intriguing. Don't you think?
Poof. Really leaning into it.
Yeah, listen. It's the rule of threes. You get 3 Führers. You get a Third Reich.
But we also have, I love how we have Skip of the Body Donnas with a neck brace on. Not in the ring at all.
Literally did nothing. Did nothing the whole time.
It was a real injury. That's why.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was a real injury.
So why didn't they just change it to a 3-team tag?
Yeah.
Because they were like, who cares about literally anything at this point? And then you have the Godwinns, who are kind of like an early fashion inspiration for Luke Harper.
Was this like their like nihilistic match where they're just like, guys, I don't know, let's just throw 18 men in a ring and we'll have them take turns fighting each other. I don't care.
We had Godwin's menagerie there. They had a basset hound on a leash.
That was kind of
They're
cute.
carrying around a pig.
It was kind of cute.
All those animals are terrified.
Yeah, by the way, also, I think Phineas was like trying to wrangle his because he came late.
I think the only spot in this whole match that I sincerely enjoyed, I thought, was the when they tagged both of the Smoking Guns at the same time, and they were like, "Now you got to fight the rules."
I was like, "Is this a thing?"
Yeah, and I do love. I mean, like, truly, there's like such an easy out. It's like just go tag other people.
No,
it's
but
like,
then they
were
ran
so mad for so long. They were like,
they
"But
ran
what do
over."
we do?" And it's like, there's a simple solution.
My note for that is simply, this is very dumb.
I loved watching everybody scatter on the ropes so they wouldn't get tagged, but they were just like they were mostly arguing with Harvey Wimpleman. Was it Harvey Wimpleman? Maybe I'm just seeing him on a different screen right now. It probably wasn't Harvey Wimpleman.
I don't think it was Harvey Wippleman.
But they were arguing with the ref, and then they were like, "How do we get out of this?" And they were like, "You have to engage." Like, you have to do something. Like, why can't you just throw one guy into the ropes and he goes back and touches
Better yet, though,
someone?
like, you guys wanted you just pin the other one and then you keep your belts.
No, because then they would have been eliminated.
Oh.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, that's right. It's elimination.
Right, because you can't be the winner and the loser at the same time.
I've heard that's elimination, not just like like a typical triple threat or fatal 4-way.
I really liked how Henry Godwinn had a sequence where he was essentially combing Billy Gunn's hair. And
which we've all wanted to do at one time or another.
He's combing it, and that's how he knocks it down. And Billy Gunn sells that shit like he's got a suitcase full of Cutco knives. He falls down, gets up, stumbles around, falls down, rolls out of the ring, walks around outside the ring, falls down. Like, it might be an inner ear problem.
Billy Gunn is a great seller, I feel like, as well. We will see for years to come.
One of my favorite things was early on in the match when Sunny is handing over the belts, and then she's playing like I don't want to give up the belts. I don't want to give up the belts. I would really like to know where the Sunny tarp is these days that exploded from the rafters.
It is definitely like her garage.
Like, I'm sure
I was gonna say
she has it somewhere.
Probably on the floor of like an old 42nd Street like Jizz Theater. I'm just following the train here. The train of wrestlers.
Jizz Theater, folks.
I mean, let's not forget
It's the Jizz Theater of the mind.
We are living in the year, this is 96, this is the year where Sunny is the most downloaded celebrity on AOL.
What does it mean to be a downloaded celebrity?
Because you had to download pictures at that point. She is the most downloaded celebrity on AOL.
I remember in 1996 AOL where it took 20 minutes for a picture to load, and it's just line
one
by
line at a time.
line by line. And it's like, I think I see a tit. Nope, not quite.
Had she been posing nude at that time?
I don't think she'd posed nude yet. I don't think we've gotten to that point where they're doing Playboy yet. But it is really interesting to watch this scene because at this point, Sunny is almost the only diva. Okay, we're getting a taste of Marlena. We're getting
Sable.
a little bit of Sable, and soon Sable will take over as the top woman in this
you
company.
can see it's happening already from the storylines. We'll get into that.
But it's great. I'm so glad we're checking in where we started because this is Sunny being like, I fucking own this place. Like, she just feels that it's like, oof, this is gonna be such a fall.
It's kind of like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead kind of thing. We know what's coming, honey, and you don't, and I'm so sorry.
I guess we'll get into the picture. First of all, did she think that a giant photo of her looking like she's about to go for a job interview was going to be what would
It's just
sell
like
it?
Cleavage. It's
cleavage, but it's also like dress pants. It is
a little like Joan on Mad Men wore less.
yeah. Like, it was like she constantly wears a short skirt, but she was like, no, it's Cleveland. I need to class it up.
Also, was it double-sided, or was only like one part of the arena seeing it at all?
Yeah,
This
were
is
the
before
people.
we're doing holograms.
Well,
and
there were the
Barclays
people
Center.
behind it, and that was terrible for them.
Well, I think this pay-per-view tells us anything is that they do not care what the people in the arena see at all.
We'll get to that.
We'll break all
We'll
that
get to
down.
that.
But Sunny just she's got a much-needed trip to the woodshed.
Oh, what a weird thing to say.
She's
so full of herself.
That
woman.
Jezebel.
You know what I want to know is who's the camera guy who's responsible for when she's talking about Cleveland women and these fat, ugly women,
And they just find
one woman in the audience. Not every woman. We're gonna find one woman to hold the shot on the whole time.
What does
and I was
she
like,
think?
Holy shit! Could you imagine being that woman and then going home and watching and being like, oh, I guess we didn't have on demand. I guess they're assuming she's there. She's not watching on pay-per-view.
She's like calling her friend. She's like, hey guys, I'm on TV. But one thing.
Listen.
22 years later, she finally gets the WWE network and is like, oh, I'm going to go watch that pay-per-view I went to that one time. Oh, no.
All her friends are like, Beverly, do us a favor. Never watch SummerSlam
Don't
96.
get the network.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. That poor woman.
One question I have off topic is, were the Rockers ever high-flying? Were they a high-flying
So the definition of high flying is very different at this point, and we'll
right, with Mark Merrow,
he
was high flying, but were they at the Mark Merrow level? Because in my memory,
They were just
I remember
below.
them doing a little bit of high flying because they did nothing in this.
They did nothing in this, but think of it like what Shawn Michaels does. So I would think like there'd be like an off the top rope, a splash,
Okay.
a missile drop kick. I actually
Okay.
believe the missile drop kick was a finisher. Like that was high flying.
Okay.
It was a very low stakes. But meanwhile, what's interesting, what's happening to keep in mind as well with WCW is WCW has a very robust cruiserweight division that was very popular, and they brought in a lot of lucha libre wrestlers, Psychosis and La Parka, and I'm not sure if all of them are over there yet, but they're building up a very credible cruiserweight division that was not like we have now, like really part of the show and a huge part of. I mean, made Rey Mysterio. I mean, like.
Yeah.
Huge.
I was just reading something today that just talked about how great the WCW product was because they had so many different kinds of wrestling match, where WWF at this point had a WWF match, and next we're going to have a WWF match, and follow that by a WWF match.
So I think that's also putting the pressure for them to take more risks and do more impressive things, which we're going to see in a little bit coming up as well on this pay-per-view.
But next, first we need to know what happens in our race through Cleveland.
Thank God.
I had to watch this maybe 6 times to understand. I was like, wait. I had to like keep going back and be like, oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. What?
How do you get to the stadium?
Nothing
That's what I want to know.
First of all, it's already happening. So everyone's there.
They made it. They all made it.
I first it blew my mind that they didn't show that before the tag match with all of the people who
Right.
were involved, and then like give the Godwinns like, oh, the Godwinns won their race. So
Also,
they
wouldn't
probably
the Godwinns take the horse? Wouldn't the
Why
Godwinns
are they
ride
so
a
into
pig?
rapid transit?
I'm
They
so
they were.
confused.
I felt like that was like there was like a city campaign about taking public transportation where they were like, guys, we really need people to ride our train. Like everyone's taking a horse and buggy. We need everybody to get on these fucking trains. We're gonna lose our fucking like shirts.
And it's not even that, like, what's new or what's interesting or what's more convenient. Like, truly, they were like, I wonder which one's fastest. And it's like, are we really wondering which one's fastest?
It reminded me of in stadiums when they do like the subway race, and they're like these 3 subways are racing, and like which is gonna make it, and like everyone in the crowd just kind of like bets on one. It felt like that, but with real people.
It's like a little bit
it's ketchup versus mustard in the sandwich races, except ketchup's on a Segway, and we're like, ketchup's obviously gonna win.
Yeah, no. Also, Ketchup is like a contractor, and like he may be injured next month, and so film it now.
It was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Everyone was so earnest about it. And they were also trying their best to, like, listen, we're not going to shit on the horse and buggy either. They're also like, this is beautiful. This horse is great. Like, everyone's like you can't choose wrong. Turns out
there's no bad option.
Everyone wins. I was like, what the actual fuck?
It was weird, especially like the fact that they like. I guess the tag teams historically are like the gimmick promos, right? So like, it's a fun thing. And look, I'm not the history guy. I'm
like,
not the angel
of
death.
Was this a fun thing? Like, what? Even putting in all of my, like if I was like being like the markiest mark that's ever like Marky Marked in the Funky Bunch, with this, I'd be like, what am I latching? What is anyone doing?
It's arguably the two strongest tag teams taking the 2 strongest forms of transportation to the stadium.
Next, we're gonna see who's gonna be faster filling out their taxes: the Body Donnas or the New Rockers.
First of all, Zip is a fucking CPA. Nobody talks about that.
What is the fastest way to get there? Should we take a spaceship or should we go backwards in time? And you're like, these are the options. We have a rickshaw and we have a. What were these? Why was no one driving? What about traffic?
We have a pogo stick and an airplane.
Are people in Cleveland like, we're going to SummerSlam? Should we take the horse and buggy or should we take the mass transit?
Yeah, it was a public initiative.
This is not Uber Pool versus Uber. It was so bizarre.
Also, though, I have no idea what Cleveland was like in 1996. This could be accurate. It could be accurate today.
Everyone was taking horse and buggies everywhere. There was a huge horse and buggy problem.
Look, there was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There was SummerSlam. And then the rest is just a fucking barren desert.
Okay.
They didn't have gasoline.
Listen, Straits, I got a question for you.
Oh, good.
What the fuck is a spitball? Is that a real pitch? Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
I thought that was just from like Rookie of the Year. Like this was just like a thing they just spit on the ball and throw it. Is that it?
I'll let the
someone
more
explain to me?
straight guy than me talk about it. I don't know. I think I know
Also,
what it is.
I thought we played a little horse and buggy match. Transit. Which of you is straighter?
Who's gonna make it to the vagina?
I always assumed it was just a ball that they spat on,
yeah.
so that
it's
it gave more, like kind of like they used to. Some of the guys used to put Vaseline on the bottom of their ball caps, and they'd rub it and they put it on their fingers so that the ball would slip off easier.
Yeah, the idea is pitchers. If you're not pitching a fastball, what you want to pitch is something that has a lot of spin on it, and so if you put like any kind of lubricant on the ball, then you can kind of like get that good spin.
And this was such a problem in baseball. They made a rule, and then everyone knew about it. This seems like being an insane thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, if you watched Major League, the movie,
Charlie Sheen, is that Charlie Sheen?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had a whole thing. They had a whole sequence where like, you know.
Also in Cleveland,
where the guys, a lot of the pitchers will like, I think they'll like lick their hand. Will they lick their hands? Are they allowed to?
You know way more about baseball than I do, Eric.
Football players, quarterbacks lick their fingers a lot, but I think with pitchers, basically,
because the football's made of pigskin, so like,
they want to taste the bacon. It's like, very greasy.
It's like
But essentially, the idea is like you. If people could sneak it, they would try to get, and especially if you're like an older pitcher and you've lost a little bit, you want to go for some of those like specialty pitches. Because if you just try to, like, nobody can pitch heat their whole life. Heat being fastballs.
Right.
So what you try to go for is like pitches that are a little bit trickier for people to hit.
I think Bobby's more confused than when this conversation started.
Jerry Lawler is asking professional baseball players how to spin on a baseball is basically what's happening.
Jerry Lawler likes to break the rules, and
Yes, I understand. Sure.
My note was, if he really wants to find out what's illegal, he should ask them about performance enhancement drugs.
Oh,
because this is the year for it. I
hey,
think, right?
Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, is that 96?
Yeah, it's
few
maybe
years
a couple
before.
years.
I think 98. I don't know.
It's a couple years later.
Sure.
It's very soon.
And also, he's sitting up at the very top with the entire stadium empty. And if he's that, like, I'm going to break all the rules, just go down a few rows, buddy.
He also is the kind of guy who, like, you know those guys when you get, like, bad seats at a baseball game, they, like, fucking comment the whole time, like, oh, I'm getting nosebleeds over here. Like, he just, like...
Wait, you're saying Jerry Lawler is the type to comment on everything that's going on in his life?
It's weird that you would think that he uses old cliche jokes. He probably, when he goes skiing, when he sees somebody wipe out, he says it's a yard sale.
Also during this, wait, just to go back to the race for a minute,
Yeah.
Billy Gunn's wearing a cast and no one talks about it. And I was like, we just saw Owen Hart make a cast be like the focal point of his entire match. And now you had a cast a few days ago,
Oh.
and now you're just wrestling? No, I can talk about
What was
that?
the cast on?
His arm. As if he borrowed Owen Hart's cast.
Wait, was he going to hit the horse when the ref wasn't
He was
looking?
actually going to hit the train. That's the plan. Okay, that's all bizarre. Then they're doing like very like now we're gonna go Sister Act 2 style and paint over graffiti. There's no graffiti. They're just painting over old
It was
bricks.
just a wall.
I was like, oh, you guys are just flipping a house? Like, what is happening? It was Savio Vega.
Also, I don't trust Sonny around the children.
exactly. Well, that whatever.
Remember
you
that
told
17? Yeah. Yeah. I think we
Off air?
did this off air, but we were talking about how there's a YouTube clip where Sonny talks about all the people she slept with, and this is like, I think probably Sonny like in her last year of wrestling or something, and she goes, well, yeah, there was that 17-year-old last year, like, and she just keeps mentioning it
As though that's nothing.
right, and like, and she's probably in her like mid 40s, maybe late 40s, something like that.
deeply uncomfortable.
It's super weird.
Kind of uncomfortable as I was when then Undertaker gave away a funeral.
What does it mean to give away a funeral? What does that mean? I know he is the protection of the light against the forces of darkness, but when you give away a funeral, does somebody have to be dead, or is it like a future funeral?
Yeah, it's like you get like a gift certificate.
Does Paul Bearer come out and give you like the options about the caskets you can get? He's like, mostly we do urns. We're big on urns.
The other day, sit down and just like tell me about her hobbies. He gives a eulogy. He gets to come out.
They get one of those giant pictures with the roses.
Mark Calloway is sitting in Texas right now, and all of a sudden the phone rings. He's like, oh, man, that funeral I gave in 1996. Gotta go do it now.
They're all cashing in.
Bill in Cleveland is dead. Gotta show up.
So the next match, we've got Psycho Sid versus the British Bulldog.
Psycho Sid, first of all, I really like that he's embracing the psychoness.
I love him.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's great.
He starts talking. Now he's fucking doing voices, and I'm like, I'm all in. I think
He hear voices in his head.
yeah. I think when he's in a tag team, or when he's involved in a group, I think he tones it down, much like the crazy people on a subway car. When like another crazy person comes in, they kind of like they just shut it up, and then they wait till they find their car. I think Psycho Sid just like tones it down until it's his moment, and then man, the voices come out. It's great.
I don't have a lot to say about this match. I will say that it was just a pretty good, solid match. It would be like the first or second best match on our Monday Night Raw in 2018.
I wouldn't even go that. I wouldn't go that far. But I do think it was
fun.
solid. It
Had
was
a good
fine.
pop.
People, the crowd is just nuts
fucking
for
love
Psycho
him.
Sid. They're just really nuts for him.
He walks in wet as fuck, and he's just going, the man is
Look,
here.
After
the man
seeing
is here.
after seeing Roman Reigns, truly no one is ever more wet. In the history, Aquaman is not more wet than Roman Reigns. He comes out covered in like true motor oil.
Yeah, no. This is,
So everything now, I'm like, these
Sid
guys
had
are
droplets.
parched.
His basement got damp.
But he's got Justin Timberlake hair, and I feel like it's...
I was trying to think of, other than ramen hair, what else is it? And I was like, is it almost like those beaded curtains you see, or like maybe like is it like those tapestries that you might get?
It kind of looks like it was chiseled out of marble, and then just it never moves ever.
Or like Cabbage Patch Kid hair.
Yeah.
Oh, like the yarn hair.
Yeah, I think it's yarn hair.
Yarn hair.
He's definitely got yarn hair.
He's got yarn hair.
Yarn never going to get out of his hair.
Yeah, this was fine. The ending was, more Clarence Mason, Jim Cornette, hubbubaloo.
Why is Cornette so mad?
I think it's that Clarence Mason is kind of stepping on his toes. Like, why is he getting involved? Why is he coming out here? I didn't tell you to come out here. And making the distraction so Sid can hit that power bomb, which is a great power bomb.
He does a very good power bomb.
It's fun to watch.
I liked, by the way, that McMahon says that outside the ring, Sid is a very perfect gentleman. It's so weird that he's like, I gotta vouch for this guy. Look, he's psycho, but he's actually a very nice guy.
I don't have much to say about it, honestly. I think it was fine. Not a big.
It had good sequences for me, but I mean, if I'm looking at my notes and I'm honest, it was like I literally just had a note about Vince McMahon talking about Psycho Sid, so it wasn't a lot for me.
But then we have Mark Marrow versus Goldust.
Oh my god,
a lot to unpack here.
Yes,
I mean, Goldust is still rocking the outfit that does no one any favors.
Did you notice, by the way, that there was a person dressed like Goldust,
I did.
fully dressed like Goldust?
It was
in
very
the
hard,
audience?
Eric, not to notice that. You're like, did you notice
It's
that?
a
You're
little
like,
bit.
yeah, I noticed the person in the wig and full gold face paint directly in the line of the camera the entire evening. Yeah, I did. I noticed that.
It's a little bit like a Where's Waldo book where you're like, oh, there's Goldust, and there's another Goldust.
It's like, where's Waldo? Except everyone is dressed normally except for one person who's wearing a wig and gold face paint, which makes it a lot easier, I feel.
I saw him come in, and I'm like, wow, how did Goldust's outfit get even worse than the last one? And then I'm like, wait, no, that's the same outfit. It's just...
What
Is it stretched out? Like, did he get it wet? Did he not? Like, I don't understand.
What do you think that outfit smells like when he takes it off?
I truly could not imagine or want to.
Where have all the round boys gone in wrestling?
Because look, I run every day, and when I take off my running
Okay,
shorts,
Eric, we get it.
I'm super fit, but when I take off my running shorts, like just the running shorts, and just after doing 3 miles, no big deal. But they smell like absolute dead crotch. Mm-hmm. I don't know what wrestling in a full bodysuit where literally
And it's made of latex. Like, it's not breathing.
It's like NASA designed. It's like you cannot have any air come out of it. Like, if you put a bubble over it, he'd be able to go in space.
I feel like when he unzips it, like a cartoon skull cloud comes out of it.
Also wearing a wig. Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. A little bit of history for you. Apparently, originally, Goldust's infatuation with Sable was originally Marlena's infatuation with Sable, and it was going to be a lesbian angle.
Like it.
That Vince McMahon himself got cold feet on and switched it to Goldust being infatuated with Sable.
But he also made them sort of like swingers, and they're like, yeah, I don't know, she doesn't really care. Like, she likes whatever he likes.
He just wants her to be happy. Yep.
I fucking love Marlena. She's so fucking chill.
She is.
She just sits
so cool
and just watches, and she's just like, they're like, she doesn't care if he's pinned or not, and she's just hanging out,
smoking a cigar.
Yeah, smoking a cigar. By the way, they made a cigar reference, and I was like, I had to look up when was Lewinsky, and it was not. It was, I think, in a year or two. So unless they know something we didn't know then, I kind of hope Vince McMahon was talking to Bill Clinton. And he was just like, you'll never guess what happened. That's my Bill Clinton. Mark Marrow shaved his facial hair.
Yeah, his mustache is shrinking.
Oh, so into it.
Yeah.
Not into it.
What?
No, I liked him with the big, like the Little Richard kind of...
Well, I'll tell you, I feel it was he had to let it go. I do like the new ring gear. I like the red. I like the tassels. I still like the paw prints. He's like the claws he's got on the knee pads. I think Sable does some real Lifetime original movie acting throughout.
Woo. First of all, they basically victimized Sable the whole match. Mm-hmm.
Well, Sable in the last one came out in the all-leather catsuit with a whip. And then, now that she's got the attention of all of these terrifying men, she decides, I'm going full evening dress.
Uh-huh. Full evening gown.
Like Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah. She, there's so much her story gets so insane. But right now, I think what they're doing with both Mankind and Goldust, both kind of tormenting her.
The two most bizarre characters in
Yeah.
the World Wrestling
But
Federation.
when you think of Mankind out there, it is pretty disturbing her being out there calling her mommy.
I
That
fucking
was
love
great.
it.
I mean,
Not
it
only-
was horrifying.
Not
and
only
great.
mommy, but I have to hurt you.
He
It
said
was-
that?
yeah.
I missed that. Amazing.
It was
I fucking love it.
really nuts.
Very unnerving.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
And you know what? Like, I think that part when she screams is probably not acting. It's a little bit like,
I don't understand why he came out when he did. Because like he came out while I believe Goldust has Marrow in a rest hold.
it was a
it's
a
like-
very boring sequence when he comes out, and I
Usually
wasn't
you
sure.
come out to distract. Like it would make sense if Marrow was like picking up momentum and he came out to distract him, and instead he came out in a very weird time.
I think they were so in love with Mankind that they were just like, look,
Do
man,
whatever.
just
get
come
out there and do
out,
whatever.
find a time.
Yeah, I don't think they just before this had a race between two men
True.
through a city. I don't think they
That's
think
true.
a lot of things through.
Well,
to
the
this
problem, the
level.
reason actually Mankind was supposed to come earlier, but he took the horse and buggy. It's just he doesn't understand public transportation.
Well, we did see what I was trying to get confirmation on this, but I do believe this is it may be the first Shooting Star Press.
Oh, I fucking loved it. It was so good.
WWF stuff. I don't want to be quoted on that, but I as far as I Googled, I was like, where was this the first one? And
There really needs to do like an OED of wrestling moves in Oxford English Dictionary. It's like, this was
That would
first
be
coined
amazing.
by.
Why don't we
I
do
under
this?
the history. I mean, I know I could name something that, and I think I've said this on the podcast. I don't know if I've said this on recording before, but the reason why I know so many of these moves is because I've played all the WWE video games from back when truly like the PS1. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, before that too, I guess Super Nintendo, all that stuff. But when they started making creator wrestlers, and I would go through every move and like find the moves, and so I learned all their names.
Bobby the Body.
Bobby the Body.
I played Muscle Men, and they didn't have the named moves, but they just kind of moved around the ring. It was Nintendo.
The pink guys?
Yeah.
I remember
That was a
those.
fun one. I had played that before.
Yeah, it was like, I think it was on like NES.
Oh man.
I remember collecting those things.
Oh, I still have them. I don't get rid of things.
we know Eric.
So
But that move is great. But that move, he does
Yeah,
the
it
shooting
was
star
amazing.
press, coins at the wild thing. It's
he called it the Wild Thing?
Yeah, it's a truly thrilling.
Because they called it the Shooting Star Press at the
So
time.
it's very weird how they did it. Because when he comes out, JR starts talking about Wildman told me he's got a new finisher he's going to try out tonight called the Wild Thing, and I asked what it was, and he said you'll know it when you see it. And that was the whole thing. And he did it, and he's like, I guess that's the Wild Thing. Some people call it the Shooting Star Press. Blah, 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 blah.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
Man.
So that becomes the Wild Thing, becomes his finisher for a while. Though in this case, it's not a finisher because he does it and then doesn't win the match.
Doesn't
Which is
finish,
a very
yeah.
weird way to like do your finisher for the first time.
Well, and also it's like you'll know it when you see it. It's the thing that doesn't work.
Yeah. But this is the move that famously, years later, we will see Brock Lesnar botch and almost paralyze himself against Kurt Angle.
Wait, Brock Lesnar tries to do a Shooting Star?
Does not try, does it.
Wow, more high flying.
Botches it, and it's one of the scariest botches in wrestling
Will I
history.
see it?
I mean, yeah.
It's gonna come up.
He survives. I mean, so yeah.
No, I mean, but like, I didn't realize Brock Lesnar was in our purview.
I don't know. I don't know. It depends how popular this podcast gets.
Probably not. So we have a year.
subscribe,
No, I would
rate,
say-
review, because we want Eric to see that.
So what I like about this match, again, they did a little bit of like foreshadowing, right? Because like in the beginning of SummerSlam, they talk about you have your heroes and your monsters, and their monsters are in masks and all this shit. And they say sometimes the monsters win, right? And we'll see this. We'll see how sometimes the monsters win and sometimes the heroes win. They do it's two sides of the coin. But also they're like, these high flyers, they're taking it's big risks and big rewards, but so like they were basically the whole match talking about how Mero was in a risky position because, he could try these big moves, but like they're gonna make him, it's potential for him to lose, higher potential. So like I kind of like that they were. I mean, it was a little bit pushing it, but I like that they were that they were trying to kind of like frame the match the whole way through.
Yeah, I think this match was fine. I felt like it wasn't.
Yeah, that being
It
said, I
had
didn't
some
really like the
spots.
match
I
that
feel
much,
like the
but-
crowd really lit up for the Shooting Star Press because I feel like that's not something they've seen. And
also for Mankind. That
And for
shit was
Mankind.
awesome.
But also a little bit of history. This was the first time he's ever done that move, I think, in a match. I think he'd only ever done it in the gym before this.
Oh.
From my research, because I was trying to figure out if this is the first time it was on WWF television, but it was the first time he did it in like a match.
Cool.
That's really cool.
So then from there, Farouk.
Wait,
Are we at Farouk yet?
they started talking. They also said they're gonna do the Intercontinental Championship on Raw. So
what happened? Ahmed Johnson was the Intercontinental Champion at this
Yeah.
point. Ahmed Johnson gets attacked by Farouk after winning a battle. So he's the Intercontinental Champion. He wins a Battle Royal to get a WWF title shot, like a world title shot.
before that, he got injured, and then he wrestled against Doctor's orders in the Battle Royal. That's what they said.
So what happened was he had the some kidney problems, and then they went back and they retcon kayfabed it into the story.
Yeah, I think the actual injury occurred after the Battle Royal when he was attacked by Farouk.
Yeah, they totally retconned it into this because like that's how they sold it in the promo.
Yeah.
Because also they were talking about it before I knew what was going on, so I'm like, what happened to Ahmed Johnson? They're like, we hope they don't take his kidney, and I was like, what happened to Ahmed Johnson?
And that's all. That's true. Like they really were like, oh, he might lose a kidney. It was real bad.
Yeah.
He was for real injured.
He got injured at the Battle Royal.
After the attack by Ron Simmons, Farouk.
No, but it was just. I don't think it had anything to do with anything in ring.
No, they do think it's not clear because he didn't get diagnosed until the week after the attack for real. Like he did get attacked after the Battle Royal by Farouk. He went out. I think what you're thinking was then he went out and wrestled house shows after that.
No. I mean, they said it in the. I'm just going off of what I saw in the promo.
Well, I don't remember how they framed it, but what he got kicked in the kidneys by Farouk, and it's not entirely clear if that was a real stiff kick, and that was where the injury was.
Yeah.
But apparently there was real backstage heat between Ahmed and Farouk afterwards because he really did think he did this to him, but he didn't realize it for like a week after, and that's why it was so bad and actually urgent, and he really almost lost a kidney. But also he was at this point kind of injury prone too. There was also like kind of like the feeling that Ahmed Johnson was kind of prone to injury.
Gotcha.
But what's a mess now is that now they have Intercontinental Championship to get rid of and this number one contendership because he had both, and now they're like, oh great, these are like two huge stories.
So they were like, you in the past we've talked about this. I mean, off podcast, we've talked about how they used to actually have titles change outside of the pay-per-views. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's still kind of coming. Like a little ways away. Like it would happen occasionally. I mean, it would happen at house shows sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I
back
mean.
in
Like,
the day.
yeah.
But
they have titles still change on, not as frequently, but a title can change on SmackDown or Raw. They do that to keep things kind of unpredictable, but they used to change more during
but definitely
non-televised.
It happens. I mean, I haven't seen it happen on Raw or
like,
SmackDown in a long time. But I also haven't watched it in a while.
In a few years from where we're at right now, you're gonna see a whole bunch of title changes of even the WWF Championship on Raw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because the Monday Night Wars, they're trying to keep things.
Yeah.
You have to watch. You don't know what you're going to miss.
Yeah.
But unrelated, it wasn't even for unpredictability. They would do it at house shows to make house shows interesting.
That's really cool.
And because people weren't on the internet, they weren't on these blogs and message boards and whatever, they can have a house show on a Tuesday in Who Cares, Rhode Island, and they have Shawn Michaels lose the belt to whoever, and then win it back the next night in Who Cares, New Hampshire, and by the time they come back to Raw, everything's status quo.
My family's from Who Cares, New Hampshire. Yeah, damn it. We all want to be from Who Cares, New Hampshire.
But so Farouk comes out.
Yeah, so then Farouk comes out
and
looking like a Mega Man
and,
villain.
yeah, Ron Simmons.
Yes.
Ron Simmons is unquestionably great. That outfit is unquestionably terrible.
It looked like the assignment at school was dressed like a gladiator, and his mom was like, "Oh boy, I forgot."
But this is the gladiator from the future.
This is Lisa Simpson's Florida outfit right here.
It is terrible. Also, apparently, it is because
I could see the foam.
Vince was worried about Ron Simmons being bald, so like we need something on your head. And
I love Vince McMahon.
And this is where it came from. And then this is where they ended up. What that doesn't explain though is his entrance music. When you're talking about entrance musics, I was like, this sounds like something truly out of a Charlton Heston film. Like it was.
It sounded like what they
Chariots
use.
of Fire. It was crazy.
It sounded like what they use. It sounded very similar to what they use for Lawler, right? It's like that very like dun 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 dun. You know, it's like the dawn of man, whatever the fuck. I forget what the name of it is, but you know, very similar. Fanfare for the common man. For all you classical musical heads.
Actually, I was named after Aaron Copland, the composer who made Fanfare of the Common Man.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a true thing?
Yeah.
The things we learn about you.
Oh,
on
have you
podcasts.
heard about Aaron's parents who were into fife and drum?
No.
That is a completely different
Another
podcast.
podcast.
Wow.
They met doing fife and drum.
Bobby, how excited were you to see Mark Henry show up?
I didn't realize how excited I was until it was happening, and then I wish I could go back in time and be excited for it in real. Like
This
when it
was his
first shows
premiere,
up.
right?
This is his first like real televised
Yeah.
premiere. Yeah. Because he was an Olympian and he was all these things and
Well, yeah,
Well,
because
his
the
premiere as a
last
wrestler.
pay-per-view, he was literally at the Atlanta Olympics.
Yeah.
Doing weightlifting.
But wait, they said he didn't compete because he was injured?
I believe so.
I think he competed. I just don't think he medaled.
I don't know, according to the announcers, but they also said it was Bill Clinton's birthday that day, and they were wrong, so I don't know.
But he has the title of World's Strongest Man not from the Olympics. It was from some other like bodybuilding.
Like one of those like
thing.
ESPN4 World's Strongest
yeah.
Man competitions.
It was
where
a
not
real-
from Vince McMahon?
No,
You're the world's strongest man, I think so.
It is a real earned title. But his outfit when he showed up, just like he looked like he ate all of Boyz II Men, and I was very excited.
White denim suit.
White denim
Amazing.
suit. From
it was like
the Kangol hat. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
it was like Samuel L. Jackson ate the blueberry gum from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
It's always somebody ate somebody,
Yes.
for sure, because
What's
nobody
important
is that
yeah,
big.
he was eating something. And he just seemed like so happy to be there. Like I had no idea.
what a joy.
He like it's as if he is not just seeing wrestling for the first time, but seeing everything for the first time. Being like, what is humor? What is sarcasm? What is wrestling?
Yo,
Like, what
that's
am I
messed
doing?
up. I'm doing my Mark Henry impression on the mic. Yo, that's messed
Well, what's
up.
he gonna drink? Like very sincere, like no idea. Just like a new, like a fresh faced babe, just like out in
like
the world.
he's iced tea on.
Oh, you mean like betting on the ponies? Or do you mean like when you...
So the match we have here is 41-year-old Jake the Snake Roberts versus 46-year-old Jerry Lawler, who let us all know that when people get drunk, they see snakes. When snakes get drunk, they see Jake Roberts.
Nailed it. He nailed it. That's a good observation. It's almost like, why do we drive on parkways and park on driveways?
I just need to point out that, again, 41-year-old Jake Roberts, 46-year-old Jerry Lawler, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in 2018 is 46 years old and looks impeccable.
I mean,
Just in case that did not pick up on the mic, Bobby just went, "Oh."
he shuddered.
This is one of the best looking people to ever exist.
I mean, also, we know more about nutrition. We know that you shouldn't take steroids.
Yeah, we know Jake Roberts was not taking great care of himself. That's truly what underpins this entire segment.
2 bottles of liquor a day does not actually help you live longer.
And actually, guys, from a historical perspective, at this point, Jake Roberts was actually off the wagon. Which
No,
makes
he was
this
drunk at this time?
Horrible. Yeah, it actually makes it worse.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second because there's a part where I had a question about it.
The Ravens jersey that Jerry Lawler puts on, that's legitimately fucking funny.
Yeah.
In 1996, the Cleveland Browns just lost their team. They became the that's
Was
like,
that in 1996?
That was the first year. Like that, the Ravens were going to have their first season a month from there, and that is legitimately fucking funny.
So they were the Cleveland Ravens?
No, they were the Cleveland Browns, and then the Browns moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens.
But then did Cleveland have the Browns?
No, they didn't
just
have
didn't
a
have
team.
a team?
They had no team
Wait,
at this point.
when did the Browns start?
For first, like a very long time ago.
Guys,
for the
it's
first-
not a
No,
football podcast.
When did the Browns start? Like, when the current incarnation of the Browns start?
It was a few years after, and they were an expansion team.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I knew that the Baltimore had the Colts, and the Colts moved to Indianapolis,
Yes.
and then they didn't have anything. I didn't realize that the Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens. Interesting.
Yeah,
Not
and it was
only for two of us. For one of us, it's not.
And it was Art Modell who moved him there. And so when
Got it.
Jerry Lawler was talking about Art Modell, then it was just expert trolling on his part. And he would be much funnier if he didn't laugh at everything that he said.
Yeah, like that. Like a little bit of the weasel laugh.
Yeah. like he's a gremlin.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's
Do
great.
not, whatever you do not feed Jerry Lawler after midnight.
Or get him wet. Don't get Psycho Sid near him. What was going on with the back of Jerry Lawler's hair? It was like a half
little
mullet?
Yeah, there was a little mullet. There was a little Carol Brady flip in the back. That
Or like a duck butt.
Yeah,
He
it was-
had a bit of a duck butt.
I've never been into Jerry Lawler. I don't understand it. I never understood the appeal. I never thought of.
The only thing I like about him
endearing.
is that he collaborated with Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, well, that was before.
Well, yeah,
I can't.
Oh, you mean
remember-
Andy Kaufman wasn't alive in 1996? Because from what I know, he pulled off the greatest prank in the world.
I mean, outside of Man on the Moon, I have no idea. It's not a
Um,
wheelhouse for me.
So one thing I like is when Mark Henry comes out and Mr. Perfect, is kind of like puffing his chest up. I suddenly realize that Mr. Perfect reminds me of Chest Rockwell from Boogie Nights. He is basically John C. Reilly. What? You're not gonna shake my hand? He's just got that perfect dumbness to him. It's great.
Perfect.
That
Nailed
Mr.
it.
Perfect dumbness.
Not much to say about the match because it's a match between two 40-year-olds nowhere near the prime of their careers.
Oh no, the match. Well, there's a couple things to say about the match. I think. I mean, the match sucked. I agree. But there were a lot of gimmicks that sat poorly with me or were weird. First of all, we found out that Burger King was an audience joke. Mm-hmm. He calls that out. I did not realize it was canon that Jerry Lawler was afraid of snakes, but apparently that's a thing.
Mark Henry, too.
Yep.
Mark
Not
Henry's
a
afraid
fan.
of snakes?
Yeah, they said that.
Oh, he said it? I don't remember. I just remember that was messed up. I also like how he goes, I brought out Jake's tag team partners, Jim Beam, and I don't know, maybe Jack Daniels. Oh no, another Jim Beam. Just get a Jack Daniels bottle.
Yeah, it was not that hard. Props department.
Land that joke.
Yeah.
It was he really, he's he probably went back afterwards, was don't worry guys, I covered for you, but it wasn't that good.
No.
Did you notice that his snake is named Revelations?
Oh, was that what I heard Revelations. I didn't know that was the name of the snake.
Yeah, the old snake, the old python was named Damien, but now that he's a Christian,
Sure.
yeah, the albino python, Revelations.
He didn't have a snake called Absolute. Or Jim.
Okay, King. Now laugh at what you just said.
Wait, I had a couple other things. Oh, I put down that Lawler's put downs. They sound like they're from one of those joke books you get when you're a kid, like totally tasteless jokes or all that stuff. They're what he said that Jake the Snake had barthritis. That's where you get stiff in a different joint every night.
That was pretty good.
That's actually pretty fucking good.
I like that one, honestly.
I also have that Jake's entrance music sounded like it was done by Vangelis, who was Vangelis. If you don't know, was he was a electronic music god.
Did he do the soundtrack to Blade Runner? I think
He did the soundtrack to Blade Runner. He also did the soundtrack to Chariots of Fire. It's all very super synthy. That's I don't know. I kind of liked it, but I also really like old synth.
Sure.
That's just the thing. I liked the bag swap. That's a common thing I feel like you see in every match is I've got a bag and you've got a bag and I'll take something out of this bag if you don't take something out of that bag.
It's a Yankee swap.
I also think that the everything he does with his boa constrictor is terrible, and
Everything he does to the boa constrictor?
yeah, the fact that he pulls the boa constrictor out and starts wrapping it around him, and like the boa constrictor is being flung everywhere. Unless that's a mechanized snake.
That was not
No.
for sure.
That's a fucked up thing to do to a snake.
And yet I feel like that snake was still treated better than Sunny.
You don't know what they did in that bag. They both came in that bag.
I don't. I mean, this was. I wanted to move past it as quickly as possible. It was just nothing. Nothing came of it. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm glad Jake Roberts is still alive today, somehow miraculously. But
He beat all of them.
And just the bullshit buildup that we had to deal with it the entire last pay-per-view. And yeah, I'm done with this. And I know we're just gonna have to watch Jerry Lawler get trotted out to fight a whole bunch of other people over the next several years worth of pay-per-views. But
So my question about whether or not the bottle of alcohol was real, if you say he was off the wagon.
it was not.
It was not
It was
real?
not.
Okay, well that's good.
It was not.
I was kind of afraid of that.
I had the same idea. That's why I was like, I have to figure out. Was it real alcohol at this? It wasn't. But he was off the wagon.
Ooh. We also get a very Vince McMahon has a couple ways of saying somebody got hit in the dick. Sometimes it's breadbasket. This time it was lower abdominal area.
Ooh.
I also like this this is kind of like the moment that Mark Henry throws his hat in the ring, his Kangol hat in the ring. So I liked it as like him sticking up for Jake, taking it out. It was not a good match, but
No.
but
Nothing about it was good.
all the things around it. Oh, and we also got to see Jerry Lawler pull off a wrestling move. So hey, that's great. Most of the time he's literally just talking a lot and using a bandage to strangle somebody. So he actually what did he do? I think he did some kind of a press or something.
He did a bit of a slam. I can't remember.
Slam.
I'm now. I'm trying to think.
Hey, good for him.
It wasn't certainly too memorable.
I'm glad he knows it. I'm glad he knows how to do these things because I have not seen it in two specials.
but then we go on to The Undertaker versus Mankind in the Boiler Room Brawl.
It was awesome. I mean, it was
awesome?
Yeah,
I'm very curious about what both of you think
I don't
about
think
this.
it was certainly not perfect.
It was the dumbest thing ever.
Are you kidding me?
It was not that good.
not at all. It was
not that good.
Dumb.
Wow. No, I am thoroughly in disagreement here. I thought this was great. It was a little slow.
It was so slow. I give them all the credit in the world for the creativity and the idea of this. I thought the execution of this was awful. I feel so bad for everybody in that arena.
Agreed.
Who had to sit through this.
You bought a ticket for SummerSlam and they brought out cathode ray tube TV sets. You are sitting
black and white.
Oh my god, you are sitting ringside and they have a big TV.
Like you're in school and they're wheeling it in to show a video.
They literally it's like substitute teacher time.
Yes, I will give you all of that. Yes. That was it. Yes. I'm just talking about imagine that aside.
Okay,
Picture this was happening. We were watching the Titantron. Everyone had great views of what was happening. Think of it. They were broadcasting the same way they broadcast the deletion, the final deletion.
No.
Like that.
And I'm even thinking about staying at home. I think that the pace was really slow.
Yes.
There were some great spots.
Yeah.
Mankind on the top of that ladder was really dope.
He hurt himself so badly in that spot. When he's at the top of the ladder and he jumps and misses and he lands half on some boxes. There's no crash pad. There's nothing there. He truly landed, and he didn't even hit it completely. His entire bottom half hit just concrete.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering about that. I mean, it looked. That part looked bad.
He did permanent damage to himself in that. It was crazy. I also appreciate the attention to detail when they're in the hallway and he throws the hot coffee and there's It's obviously not hot coffee.
Yes.
But there's steam. I was like, that was
Wait,
good
was there
thinking.
steam? I was looking for it. I couldn't
It was
see
steam.
it. Okay.
And it was like this is really good. Like I appreciated that detail. I appreciate how they went from the boiler room to the backstage area, and there was other wrestlers who had wrestled that evening. So
they
it
were
was
like watching. Mark Henry was there.
So it looks live. I mean, like considering this is one of the earliest like hardcore matches kind of thing, and like remote kind of thing, I thought it was really good. And the finish I thought was amazing.
Well, the finish was great, and we can talk about that in a second. But I think the way it was done when I was watching it, I mean, obviously we're in an age where we have better filming techniques now, and I think if we were to revisit that and do it the way it should have been filmed, it would have been tighter on the Undertaker and like less. You would see a little bit less boiler room because it felt very much like there's a cameraman and he's just like, okay, so I got you want to see the pipes, right? You want the boiler room? I got the Undertaker in the boiler room, and so everything about it felt very like, kind of like Benny Hillish, because like you'd see like here's Mankind with a pipe and he's sneaking over, and everything is like shot from this like far off angle where I felt very removed from it. And
you know what? I want to back up a little bit. So like at the very start right there, seeing the Undertaker go in there and being cautious.
Yes.
Where I don't think with that character, he was always in control of every situation. And so seeing him like uncertain of his surroundings, not knowing, like that was very cool to see. Just once the action started, I think I was in it for about 3 minutes. And the rest of the time, I was like, okay, let's get out of this boiler room and let's get on
I
to
don't
what.
know. Maybe this is a symptom of me having seen it like live, and now we're so spoiled by like the hardcore matches and the Hells in the Cells and the lunatic fringe cell and like all kinds of like the Ambrose Asylum matches and like the Punjab prisons. I mean, like you name it. Like we've seen it all and done it all. But at this point, this was so crazy.
Well, you were time traveling a little bit. You were remembering what like 11-year-old Bobby losing his shit.
It was scary. It was truly menacing and scary and unpredictable in a way that you were like, "What am I watching?"
Well, it's also like how when I watch like Neverending Story, I think it's the most fantastical journey, but you don't realize that like the Luck Dragon is just like a fucking giant dog puppet. You know, like some of this stuff.
No.
Wait. I don't
They did not film an actual Luck Dragon.
They found a dragon. He wasn't lucky. He was down on his luck.
So they killed it.
Yeah.
They stuffed it.
They didn't have to kill the dragon. It was weird.
It was one of the things I thought was a bad choice was that there was no commentary during it. I thought that made it weird.
They started with I actually thought when they started with the commentary, I was like, this is weird. They were like, well, it's a boiler room. You got your pipes here. And like, they were kind of like, it felt a little bit like they took sports announcers and they put them into this. And they were like, well, this is just like another sporting event. We just have to, we need to tell people people who are listening to their radios, what it's like in this boiler room. And I was like, this is weird. Once they quieted the announcers, I was like, cool. But then also they didn't do a lot of, maybe Foley work or something. They didn't do a lot of Mick Foley work. They didn't do a lot of like design as to the experience. It was very much like, okay, so we're just gonna throw a cameraman in there with you guys. Are you cool with that? And you're gonna use everything around you. Also, a very cluttered boiler room. I feel like if you're gonna have a match, the custodian would be like, guys, can you just give me like 5 minutes before you come in here because I clearly did not clean up. I didn't.
This is my office.
It's a workroom, so it's a little bit of a mess center. Also, I don't think boiler rooms say boiler room danger on them. Usually it just says authorized personnel only. Somebody has to go into the room, so it doesn't help to just say danger.
Eric, what did you think about the Paul Bearer heel turn at the end?
I loved it. I was not expecting it at all. That was great. And I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I knew that was coming, and so maybe that kind of like I knew of it. This was my first time watching this through. I knew of it through like discussion before, and I've seen a lot of like the crazier stuff that comes in the future. So that definitely clouds it. But yeah, the heel turn at the end and just kind of like throwing everything into question at the end. But the Druids, which was obviously like a whole bunch of wrestlers
Were they
that
Druids
had already
or acolytes?
Druids.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well,
And we're just like obviously a whole bunch of wrestlers from earlier. I just can't imagine what it was like for like one of the Bodydonnas and like
all right. I guess I'll put this on.
in the hood on.
Godwinns.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like probably.
They also didn't have like a dress code for the shoes for the Druids because like one of them definitely had like wrestling boots or sneakers on, and I was like, come on, guys, like you could least
Sunny
you could
in
do.
heels, yeah.
Right, it's Sunny in her dress pants and clutches and pearls.
It's Sunny and Shawn Michaels are both under the hood together. You just see two shoes facing each other.
I was gonna make that joke, but I thought it was tasteless.
That's the line, Eric.
That's my line.
That's it.
Hey, handlebar mustache Hitler. If we finally sell T-shirts for this podcast,
Jizz Theater.
I also like that Mankind calls Undertaker take.
Yeah.
Hey, take. I was like, okay, I guess that's a thing. It was like a weird. I don't know. It was a weird choice. You could just call him Taker. That's what everyone else calls him. I also like that there was steam. They used the steam. It felt like a like one of those like children's like a science museum for children where there's like a
haunted house kind of thing, like a at a carnival.
Right, and everything has like a purpose. So you like turn the wheel and the steam will come out. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I really liked this. I mean, like I do agree that it was slow, but I also thought a lot of the stuff on the card was slow. But I thought this was like it did feel really special and different, and it also like fit the story and gave them something to do much more than say like a Caribbean strap match. You know what I mean? Like this was truly felt like an earned thing. Or like
strap match.
After all this that happened with coming to the ring and like and it showing up in the casket and all the stuff that's happened in previous pay-per-views, this felt like a really necessary step in the feud. I really liked it.
You don't very often see the Undertaker from these angles. And what I noticed that when the Undertaker is laying down and you see like underneath his chin, it looks like his neck has bangs. It's a very, very weird haircut for his neck when you look at the way his goatee is kind of shaved. I also hated the way that when the Undertaker was up against that gate, that like the gate that was down, and every time Mankind hit him, he really like flopped that arm against the gate. It was a bad sell, I thought. It was kind of like, okay, he's hitting me, but like I need to make the sound against the gate. It felt like a little too, I don't know. It didn't feel like it met the standards of the Boiler Room match. Everything else was like
Boiler Room match standards and practices.
I think these two have magic chemistry between them in like a legendary sense. And I found this, I was thrilled. I was captivated and I was thrilled.
There were literally no stakes either. And like there were, as they pointed out, they're like, you know, this goes beyond belts.
Yeah.
Like,
but I believed it, but I bought it as opposed to like some other things. Like I didn't feel that with Savio Vega and Owen Hart. You know what I mean? Like this, like we said in British Bulldog, like.
It also raises the question, like, what are the stakes in the World Wrestling Federation when, like, what happens if Mankind, like, wins a match against The Undertaker? Like, does chaos reign over good? Like,
yeah, it's weird because The Undertaker and Mankind and these guys, they kind of break the meta story of it, where it's like, oh, these guys are prize fighters. You know, I win the match, you know, I get the winner's purse.
Yes.
Which is like hovering over everything. But Mankind, like, what is he gonna like get the purse and spend it all on buttons or something?
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, he's a crazy person.
Mm-hmm. But like
he's a lunatic.
This, I don't know. Was this the first time that they portrayed Undertaker as this force of good to regulate the darkness in the world?
I mean, maybe you should put it that way in that framing. It's not the first time as a face. It's not the first time that he's been acknowledged as like a supernatural entity. But I don't know necessarily about his position in terms of like the keeper of the balance of the light and dark, if that's been really sold that way.
Yeah, because like this felt like he was like he's the man who claims like who brings back the damned souls. Like he's the Reaper in the good way, not like the way you are.
Right.
Well, Cassandra saw the future and knew that Undertaker had to lose in this fashion in order to become the arbiter of...
Do not bring up myths that you do not know. Oh, I was going to say, it turns out it really is a road trip. They did really see where it goes. It like, when last episode we were talking about, like, they're like, it's going to start in the boiler room and we'll see where it goes. And it really did take us on a journey.
Yeah.
I was happy about that. I felt like we all grew.
I thought that was like a really good. I like the stipulation, like how they played it out, like get to the ring, get the urn. Like, it was all like all the pieces fit well, and then I think that was such a shocking turn when no one was reading, Bleacher Report and getting like rumors like it's going to be a heel turn. Mm-hmm. Like it was shocking, and I was still shocked watching it, even though it was going to happen. It was still.
Did Paul Bearer always have the phrase "I'm Paul Bearer and you're not"?
I don't think so. That stood out to me that when I heard that, I was like, "Boop."
That was a Chevy
Chase. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a weird thing for him to say. Also, was this around the time that Gregorian chant was like a very popular CD?
Ooh, you know what? It was a few years after Chant came out. You're
think,
right.
Yeah. I'm not gonna score in the Lewinsky. But I knew at some point the chant would come.
I remember. So I went to Catholic elementary school, and during gym class, one of the janitors came in and said, to get this gym class really going, you should get a chant CD in here. Bobby is shaking his head at me right
this
now.
This is what weird Christians are like, huh?
I once went to a spin class at 6 a.m. in Houston, Texas, and they were like, "No, we're gonna play some Gregorian chants." I got off, I unclipped from the bike, and walked out of the room.
Did you have
nope.
you had the clipped shoes?
Goodbye. Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah. Well, I was like at a 24-hour fitness. It was like so bizarre. I was like, and I'm out. Okay, bye. And it was like click, click, hobbled out.
So did Undertaker die for our sins? He was definitely carried out like Christ.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this will be a motif. This is not the last time you see this kind of thing happen.
To quote Al Jolson, you ain't seen nothing yet.
By the way, there was a person in the crowd where the Undertaker was being carried out, and this older gentleman in the crowd grabs his hand and just kind of shakes his head no, like he was the medical examiner. He's like, guys. There's nothing.
I'm sorry, he's gone.
There's no pulse in this gloved finger. I don't think I think we've lost him.
So then we come to my absolute favorite thing that happened in the entire pay-per-view. So we've got Vader versus Shawn Michaels, and beforehand, Jim Cornette is talking to the camera, talking up Vader, and he says, "Shawn, when he grabs you around the neck and you try to talk, your voice is going to sound like Peter Frampton's electric kazoo in the instrumental break of Do You Feel Like We Do." Such an amazing specific reference, and I just wanted him to go on and be like, you're going to be the Joker like the Steve Miller Band, and they're going to hit you with punches harder and faster than the chorus on the guitar solo for Leonard Skinner's Freebird, and when it gets to the end, we ain't going to know what he's going to do for you, so it's just going to be like the piano coda at the end of Eric Clapton's Layla.
Derek and the Dominoes Layla. This is... He's going to hold you for 14 minutes. Like Peter Frampton and Frampton Comes Alive. Yeah, first of all, I don't know if Peter Frampton had a kazoo. I wasn't sure what that is, what that instrument was. It was a thing.
It's a thing. It's called a talk box.
Yeah. I used to, when I was home alone and didn't have friends, since we're sharing our loneliness stories, at one point in my high school years, all my friends abandoned me. And they just decided they didn't want to be friends with me, which is it's a weird thing because that doesn't usually happen. They just like transitioned off of me, and I was like at home putting together 3D puzzles. Yeah, it gets bad. And listening to like Q1043, like the classic rock station, and there was a point, and like my parents were like, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you doing anything?" And I'm like, there's nothing worse than when your parents are asking you what's wrong because you're like, what makes me feel worse is the fact that you're asking me what's wrong. Like, I don't want to have to tell you that nobody wants to be friends with me right now. But then I timed out how long do you feel like we do, because I would hear it very often. And I
was wondering when we were going to get to the Peter Frampton.
So
reference.
you know that thing where you hear something on the radio and then you zone out because you're working on a 3D puzzle.
Sure.
And then you like zone back in. You're like, holy shit, this song's really long. So I timed that one out, and I found out that it was 14 minutes. It's one of the ones that they play when the DJ
wants a smoke break
or use the bathroom. Not everybody just smokes. People sometimes pee.
But yeah, so the match happens.
Oh, I was lonely in 10th grade.
I don't understand it though, because Eric Silver also famously looked like Hugh Grant.
He did
in high school.
This is true. We've seen pictures.
That was junior year.
I really before you hit your Hugh Grant phase.
First of all, why did you think that all my friendships were based on like surface things? Like everyone's like, this guy is gorgeous. We need to be friends with him. No, they hated me for what was inside.
No, I was hitting something awkward on the inside.
They actually didn't hate me. They just decided that I wasn't cool enough for them. So that's what I always am afraid of with my current friends. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So the match starts. Anybody notice the guy doing the eat pussy face when Shawn Michaels walked in?
I did not. No.
I saw a lot of little bobbies in the audience. All the
zebra hats.
The zebra motorcycle hats. But he also looked like a leather daddy. Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's his whole thing.
It's more leather daddy.
This is his whole gimmick. I'm like, you're just a gay porn star. Like, that is truly the gimmick that he's going for.
I was trying to figure out what he looked like, and the best I could come up with was somebody took off all of the engraved plaques on all of the trophies in their high school case and just like knitted them together to make like a Venetian blind vest.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's not my favorite look, and he will stick with that sort of like a sort of like chainmail crop vest, which is a very unique fashion choice.
The Heartbreak Knight.
He'll stick with that for a very long time, much like the ponytail.
I have like very little written down about this match just because I enjoyed watching it so much.
Really good.
That's
it's
fun.
A really good match. There is some. So historically, this match is very significant because this is the match that destroys Vader's push. So Vader was in line for a big push at this point. Vader's in line supposedly to be feuding with Shawn Michaels through Survivor Series and to win the belt of Survivor Series. Now in this match, I don't know if you've noticed, there's a part where Shawn Michaels leaps off the top rope, lands at his feet, yells at Vader, and kicks him in the head.
Yeah.
Really kicks him in the head. So Vader was supposed to move out of the way of that elbow drop. He was supposed to roll. Shawn Michaels was supposed to land and then hit a standing elbow drop. And Vader forgot to move or didn't hear him, or it was like a miscommunication. And Shawn Michaels, being a fucking piece of shit, berates him, yells at him, and kicks him for real in the head multiple times.
So I was like, I saw that there was a missed spot.
That was the big one. That was it. I think there's another one in here too, but there's also when they roll out to the floor, Shawn Michaels is pissed. That happens like right after that, and you see him shove this camera guy. Like camera guy gets because he's mad because Shawn Michaels is a piece of shit, and so Michaels.
Half the people don't think that. The other half do think that.
Shawn Michaels is a piece of shit. Whether or not half the people agree, it's fact. And so he, after this, did not want to work with Vader anymore, and that was part of the reason. Also, Vader is notoriously a stiff worker. But Shawn Michaels was like, I don't work with him anymore. And that's
what does it
like
mean
derailed.
to be a stiff worker?
He doesn't pull his punches or doesn't pull them as much, so he actually will hit you a lot. Like
so he's a stiff worker after working with Shawn Michaels?
No, he's just notoriously through his career because it makes it look better. So like it's just Ric Flair's a stiff worker.
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe's a stiff worker. Bob Holly, Hardcore Holly was a stiff worker.
Ric Flair. You said Ric Flair?
Yeah. People who are like make it harder to sell. They do it not necessarily to be sometimes to be an asshole, but also because it looks better. It's just their style. So Vader is also known to be a stiff worker. Shawn was like, I don't work with them anymore. And that's sort of what derailed Vader's push and ruined the rest of his career.
And Shawn Michaels is able to do this because he is the most popular person.
And Vince McMahon will do anything he says. Shawn Michaels is running the show behind the scenes.
I mean, the pops that Shawn Michaels gets in this match, there is nobody in the WWE today, or even, I don't know, even like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock at their height, I don't know if they get pops at the level that Shawn...
I think they do. I think but at this point in time, this is like Hulk Hogan level shit. Like he is everything. He's excellent in the ring. He's a great performer.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's good looking in like a 90s way. Like you saw like people, like women freaking out and screaming when he comes out. Like
some
he's
woman
a rock
like
star.
ran up and kissed him.
Yep, like he's like a rock star.
Yeah.
People's cameras are out. People go nuts when he comes out. Like so they give him everything.
Imagine all those pictures like now where they're like, hey, yeah, this is that old film picture of me with
that I got.
Me,
like,
yeah, that I got of this fucking old wrestler dude.
But he can call the shots, and he had the ability to do that, and he ruined Vader's push. And basically, and it's sad. There was also like, because Vader is like also known to be like the sweetest, nicest guy like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And this totally like, ruined his career. Was this match we watched happen? Shawn Michaels is a piece of shit.
There was a crossbody over the top rope. I really liked that.
That was great, and he
See?
did a
Look
great
at me.
tope. He does a great like leap over the top rope. There's some great hurricanranas.
Yep. The hurricanranas, and then a hurricanrana that became a Frankensteiner, which I liked. They called it a Frankensteiner.
I think a hurricanrana and a Frankensteiner are the same thing.
It was basically, yeah. It was like he got him over. He hurricaned him over the top ropes.
I believe so. There's a thing. The reason why like Wild Thing shooting star press, whatever. Again, there's a lots of like Vince McMahon isms, and a lot of it is Vince McMahon wanting to brand everything himself.
Yeah.
So I feel like this might be one of those things where they're technically the same thing, but Vince McMahon wanted to call it
The Frankensteiner.
Frankensteiner, does that have anything to do with the Steiner brothers?
I think it did. It was their finishing move.
Oh, I was like, that just sounds stupid. There was a back body drop by Vader that I liked.
Vader going for that moonsault. I mean, truly a thing that you would never believe you with your own eyes. Like,
because like a cruiserweight doing a moonsault is impressive. Kevin Owens doing a moonsault is incredibly impressive. Vader doing a moonsault is unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, watch a moonsault done well is a beautiful thing. Charlotte, I think right now Charlotte has a beautiful moonsault.
Probably the best one right now.
Have you seen, Candice LeRae doing a springboard moonsault off the ropes? She did it on NXT a few weeks ago, I think versus Lacey Evans. And it was one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. It was one of the most gorgeous moonsaults I've ever seen. It was perfect. They're just gorgeous works of art.
They look
right.
beautiful.
They just look so elegant. Like there's this thing about the pacing and the speed of them. But so to see Vader, the man his size, to it was mind-boggling.
I also noted that there's a point where Vader's face is in Shawn Michaels' crotch, like just fully in there.
Yeah.
There was a nut punch. I just wrote nut punch. Oh, there was a part. Oh, Vader dropped him onto the gate.
Onto the guardrails.
Yeah.
But now we're used to the guardrails now being like
These padded,
solid.
Not
things.
padded.
No. This was just a metal grate.
Yeah. This was set up for the thing set up for a parade.
And obviously he catches himself. There's still tricks of the trade, but there's only so much you can do, man.
I also like that JR tried to coin the term manster.
I liked manster, half man, half monster. I'm into that.
I would argue that if you are half man, half monster, you are a monster. It's kind of like you can't be like pregnant, which I'm now coining pregnant.
There was a 1950s horror movie called The Manster.
Oh, was there?
Yeah. A guy had a second head growing out of his shoulder.
I would just call that headster.
Well, you get your job of naming things, Eric.
Oh, me and Adam. Adam is mythologically speaking the first person who named people. Just so you know.
Yeah, but it was good. I thought the match was solid. I liked the false finishes.
The two DQs.
I thought that was good booking, and something that that made it feel special and different, and not something you're used to seeing all the time.
And made Michaels seem that much more heroic for no, I'm not going to let it end like that.
Plus the moonsault to pin, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
What is the click?
So,
KLIQ.
Yep.
They were saying, and I was like, I didn't understand what was going on. Then I saw signs for the click, and I was like, oh, this is a thing.
So famously, before this, there was Diesel, Kevin Nash,
Yeah.
Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, Triple H,
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, and X-Pac, 1, 2, 3 Kid, 6, whatever you want to, Sean Waltman. So the 5 of them were like best buds.
We talked about this a little bit in the first episode when we were talking about why Triple H was originally supposed...
Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah, he was originally...
Foppish.
Yeah. He was originally supposed to win the King of the Ring tournament, but after the curtain call incident, which was where they famously broke kayfabe...
You never actually talked about it. You said we would get into it, and I don't know what happened.
Here it is. So basically, they were best friends, traveled together. They were also huge drug addicts, having sex with Sonny. Like
this is Triple H. This is all 5 of the clique.
Yes, this is like all of them. They were sort of like a gang. They were like, but this wasn't even on camera. Like not even storyline. They weren't like all friends. This was all behind the scenes. So what happened was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon, and Diesel were leaving for WCW. It was like a known thing. They were leaving. They were having their last match at Madison Square Garden. So a curtain call. So they were leaving. Out comes Shawn Michaels. Out comes Triple H. Out comes X-Pac, 6, 1, 2, 3 Kid at the time. And they all kind of like hug and raise hands, but breaking character. It'd be like right now if Samoa Joe came out to like hug AJ Styles after his last match before leaving. And you're like...
Or like when Saturday Night Live did, like they started playing that song, like She's a Rainbow, for when Kristen Wiig left.
Yeah, except
everyone's dancing with her.
But imagine it was someone who's was supposed to hate Kristen Wiig, and their job was to want to kill them. Like that's
Pete Davidson.
Yeah. That's why it was like so. It totally broke kayfabe and broke all this stuff, and it was not. So and everyone was in a lot of trouble. And basically, Shawn Michaels couldn't be in trouble because he was the golden boy. And so what happened was they left. And Triple H got all the punishment.
Man.
Because Vince McMahon is also like a sociopath and someone had to suffer. And so he made Triple H suffer.
But part of the reason why Triple H then got so over was because he took his punishment so well and didn't complain about it or anything like that. And that's where we are.
So I guess at some point I'll see him, but we don't know yet.
Triple H?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's come back.
Okay. I mean, I know. I know he wrestles.
He's just wallowing in the undercard is really what's happening.
Doing house shows and things like that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Not being taken very seriously. But I mean, that's where we leave off now. So this is setting up. Obviously, the Mankind Undertaker stuff is huge and going forward. All the stuff coming out of Ahmed Johnson's injury is going to be big going forward because I think the Intercontinental title tournament. I remember being very into that. I remember that while it was happening, and I remember things. I think that happens on a Raw, not a pay-per-view. But so I don't know if we should or talk about it or whatever. But I remember things from that match still today because I was like such a huge Mark Marrow fan.
Is there going to be a tag team match with both of Ahmed Johnson's kidneys, where they're going to battle against the Smoking Gunns?
I wish. That would honestly be the best, still probably the most serious tag team the WWF would have had at the time. It would be Ahmed Johnson's 2 kidneys.
It'd be terrible just to break Ahmed Johnson down for parts, too. Just, okay, we've got his liver's going on a title run.
For years, WWE hosted a yearly award show called the Slammy Awards, and we end each episode of Hell in a Cell Phone with our own version of the Slammies in a segment we call For Your Reconsideration. Bobby, what do you have for us this time?
So for your consideration, I would like to give the Henry Ford Faster Horses Award to the Smoking Gunns and Sonny for putting their money on the wrong horse, for betting that their horse and buggy would get them to the pay-per-view faster than the mass transit system that even the Godwinns, simple pig farmers, knew better.
Honestly, given the MTA now, I might take a horse and buggy. I think we might have a better chance of getting to our destination.
The L train. Am I right?
Right? No, you're not right, because it's going to be gone for a year.
Eric?
Just a little background. I decided because I have a lot of trouble understanding what the announcers say and catching on to what they're talking about, I decided to watch once through with closed captioning on. and I discovered a little fun fact about the WWE Network and how they do closed captioning. And that's that at some point when the WWF became the WWE, somebody went through all of the closed captioning and looked for all occasions of WWF, changed it to WWE, looked for all times where anybody said the World Wrestling Federation, and changed it to World Wrestling Entertainment. And so I give the Find and Replace award to the interns at the WWE, because I would say
Control
WWF,
F.
yeah.
The WW Control F.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's like you literally can see how little they care for the truth, because they're like, well, we're just gonna go through like there's like
they have to legally. I feel like that was part of the lawsuit.
there's stuff in the closed captioning that is like misspoken. Like there was a point, like for example, like Jerry Lawler's joke about arthritis being barthritis. They just have it as arthritis. They could have fixed that, but instead they just went through and changed every time anybody says Federation to Enterprise.
I'm going to keep it
Or
simple this
entertainment.
time and go with the Deliverance Dueling Moonsaults Award to Shawn Michaels and Vader. Works of art that worked beautifully in tandem. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Love us? Disagree? Want to powerbomb us into the mat? Let us know. You can email us at hellinacellphone@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at hellinacellpod, or each of us individually. Eric at Prime Silver, Bobby at Bobby Hank, and Aaron at Slow Pass. Please rate and review us on iTunes or whatever you get your podcasts, and be sure to join us next time for In Your House 10, Mind Games. Thanks a lot, everybody.